Let's just do a basic simple edit to a Camera Raw file and then send this file to the printer after resizing. You can open your file either by looking at it amongst all of your other files in Adobe Bridge, which I have open here. See, I have this image highlighted. But if I don't have Bridge open, maybe I'm just looking at this in my folder, my hard drive. In this case, I would right-click on this and open with Photoshop. And we have to make sure it's a Camera Raw file and not a JPEG. From here, I can just double-click and it's going to open that Camera Raw dialog box right up. So from here, the first thing I want to do is go down here to see where I'm hovering around. Click this. Make sure this is set for just Adobe RGB 1998. It defaults to something else. Don't have any of these boxes checked and make sure this resolution says 300. And then you hit OK. Then over here, I'm just watching my histogram up here, and I'm just going to make some initial adjustments to the whites and the blacks first. First, I want to set my white point. So I'm going to bring this all the way over. You can see this is a little overexposed, so I'm trying to make this not light up. So I'm going to bring my highlights down, and that recovered quite a bit of the highlights, which is nice. So I'll bring the white back over, and I'm watching this, and I don't want that arrow to be lit up because that means it's clipping. So if I hold down the Option key, I can see what highlights are clipping or being cut out of the image. So I've set my white point. It stretches over here without anything clipping. And I'm going to do the same for my blacks. Bring this over, and this not clipping, so it's great. I could also think about whether I want to open up this shadow space a little bit. You can see how much more information I get here. And I might see something happened here, something started to clip again, to bring that highlight down a little bit more. And you see I'm hovering down here? I can get a little preview of the before and after of this image. So that looks all fine here, but I want to go down to my color and think about whether I want to change this white balance. This is that little picker that I talked about that you can put on something in the image that should be white and click on that, and that adjusts the image accordingly. You can decide whether you want it to be that warm or cool. You can make it even cooler or warmer here. So I'm kind of okay with about that. I'm noticing my getting a little clipping up here again. I'll go back into the light adjustment, see if I can bring that contrast down a little bit. And I'm thinking what's clipping now is this color channel, which I added a little bit too much yellow, which made that clip just a little bit, as you can see. So we'll talk more about this in class, but those are two basic adjustments for now. The only other thing I would suggest in this dialog box is the color mixer and saturation only if you see something that's a little bit of a color cast you want to get rid of. So I'm gonna kind of seeing this sort of bluish cyan aqua that I want to bring down just a little bit. So I'm not quite liking that there, and not sure about this orange here. So just some sort of basic adjustments there, and then I think I would go back into the lights and see, do I want a little bit more contrast? If I go crazy, that's clipping all that information out. So I'm going to bring this back down. And do I want the exposure a little bit brighter though? Maybe. Yeah. And then I'll go one more time into color and just a little bit more yellow. Maybe think about whether that tint is slightly off. So I just made some really basic adjustments there. So I've got more information in this image, making one last look at this here, moving that over so nothing is clipping. I have all that information in my print. So now I'm going to hit open down here, and now I'm ready to make a print. But the first thing I need to do is go into image size, and this is just too large for an 8.5 by 11 inch piece of paper. So with resample checked, The inches are selected. You might have to change this from pixels to inches. But I'm going to change this to 10.5, and that's going to give me a nice size for 8.5 by 11 inch paper. I'll hit OK. And then from here, I will hit File, Print, or Command P. And this is where there are a lot of really important things to check. So the first one I'm selecting is which printer I'm printing to. There are 4 back there. So I'm going to print to number 1. I'm going to make sure that printer is turned on, and I've checked the cleanliness of the print heads. From here, I'll go into Print Settings. And I will go down here to Printer Options, Printer Settings, and I'm using Ultra Premium Photo Paper Luster. This stays photo black, off, no color management. We want Super Photo and Finest Detail, and we're okay with that. Hit Save. From here, we make sure that in fact this is tagged with our color profile. We did this in Camera Raw, so we should be good. Adobe RGB 1998. We want it to say Photoshop manages colors. And from here we select the kind of paper. So we're selecting Premium Luster. And all of this matters because this is going to help us get the color we see on our monitor to be the color we see coming out from the print. From here you hit Print. You make sure there's paper loaded, and it's going to cost us about 75 cents for a single 8.5 by 11 inch print. So I will hit Print, and I have to hit it one more time. And then we should have an image that we feel happy with. Sometimes the monitor makes things look a little bit darker than they are. One thing you want to make sure of is you've always got your brightness at the maximum here. This is a communal lab, and often people come in and they do this. So you're not seeing your maximum brightness. So that's one most important thing. But if it comes out a little darker than you want, you might want to make one more print. And what I usually do is just a very basic quick adjustment to curves. And I come to this graph here and I just move this up about that much. So it's looking a little bit brighter on the screen than you would want, which means it's going to come out a little bit lighter from the print. And I'll just hit Command Z to get out of that. Now the only other thing I will let you know about here is you see this is a Camera Raw file. So what we need to do is save this as a Photoshop file so that it is saved with all of the adjustments that you made to it. A Camera Raw file is just the raw data, as you would imagine. So I'm selecting a Photoshop file, keeping this string of numbers intact because that's what we need to search for in the future. Hitting Save, making sure it's going to where I want it. And then you're done and you have a print. So hopefully that helps.